This week on SV Lynx.
Well, welcome to another SV Lynx video. This week we got a ton of things done. We're really happy with the progress. We finished up all of the supports that go across the bulkhead number 6 and got them all done and glassed in, finished up the web. And so we got that done.
And we finished up the work on the dummy coves, as you can see here. And we had a big team on Saturday come in and move it on out to this table.
Right, and we even stood it up over there and sanded the top a little bit before we got it down here. So lot of things accomplished on our goals. So let's show you all of that right now. This morning we're on our last stage of getting our webs together. We're attaching the outer panels. That's the last thing we have to do before we move it out. And so we're going to get all 4 of these attached today. Just cleaning up the surfaces. We've already got it all prepped otherwise. Ryan's mixing epoxy, so time to drink. And we're going to start with this one here. And we'll move on to the other side, and then we'll do the 2 front ones up there. And that will do it. And we've already measured out. We have enough clamps to get it all on there. Clean up the ones I did over there. Now we just have these 2 short pieces here with the curved front on them to match to the bow here. Remember, this is all upside down right now. And so this will flip over, and then this curved part here will match up right here and continue this curve down as it goes. And we're going to do both the port and starboard side at the same time here because they're much shorter than those other ones were. So it makes sense for us to just do both of these and get it done. And then we'll be done with the bridge deck for today, and I'll have to set up for tomorrow. I'll have to start seeing about getting some extra crew in here because lifting this thing out of here it's not terribly heavy, but it's more than Brian and I can do, and it's not by weight, it's by the sheer size of it is not possible for us to do it. With the Bridgedeck web all finished as far as we could go today, we decided to go work on the watertight compartments up in the bow. And so we're on the port side, and we're going to do the watertight compartment underneath the sail storage locker. And the first thing we had to do is go ahead and glue in some supports along the sides for the shelf that comes down to land on, and glue too so that it has support from below before we glass in the top of it. Do this again. Gotta get this one on, and then we gotta go even on this other side. So here we've got our divider between the sail locker storage and the watertight compartment below. We've just tacked it on with epoxy on the sides, but now we're going to put a cove around the whole thing and then lay glass around here as well. Get this one finished. So while I clean this up, Ryan's going to go mix up some straight epoxy now. Drink. And there's a lot of drinking involved with doing epoxy work. So I'll clean this all up, and then we'll let this kind of gel up a little bit, the thickened epoxy here. That way, when we put the fiberglass on, it can be rolled with a metal roller as long as we don't push really hard and get the bubbles out. If it be like it is right now, it's too pliable for that, but it doesn't take much to get us to that point. Okay, now we just need to wet out the 2 layers of fiberglass. I keep saying epoxy. The thing is that somebody commented on the other one that, actually I was on the beam that they commented that we were only putting 1 layer of fiberglass, but the fact is that we wet out 2 layers, put them on top of each other, and apply them at the same time. It just works out faster and easier for us, and there's no detriment to doing it that way. So we have all of our pieces pre-cut here and marked out what size they are and such. And as I mentioned, we wet out 2 at once. So Brian's over here wetting out the wider one right now, and then this slightly thinner one will go on top of that, and then he'll bring both of those to me when we go to apply them, and then he'll start mixing, wetting out the second set while I'm applying this one. A little bit of a fringe here, but that's okay. I'll just sand that off, grind it off later. That way it flows around onto here nicely. It's Thursday. And it's a big day because today we're putting the dummy coves that we've been working on to get to this point for 4 weeks. And today we're going to do it. The problem is that we have to mix a ton of epoxy to do the coves for this all, and we're going to do it all in one day today. And so that's why I brought in a bunch of crew, and most of them are going to be just mixing epoxy. Either one or two of us are going to be applying it because it takes so much longer to mix it than it does to cut these coves on. So we're going to get to it and you'll see what happens. So yesterday we got a long way on getting these dummy coves in. All the way down the center, most of the whole of the stern, and all the way back down to about here. And so today, and these are all set up now down in here. So we're all good back, this whole section back here. But we've got to go forward here. So I've got these two here down on these guys, and then this grouping right in here. And then we got to move to the other side and go all the way up the outside to the end up there. And so that turns out to be about 16 to 18 mixes of epoxy. And that can take quite some time because we don't have the same size team today that we had. It's early in the morning right now, it's just Brian and I. So we're going to get started, but we won't be able to move very fast because he can only mix so much. In fact, I'll probably put down what he mixes and then go help him mix and then come back and do some of this. But within about an hour, we're going to get a couple more people. The Admiral will arrive and Nick. So we're going to get 2 more people, so we'll have 4. Yesterday we had 6. And that should allow us to get the rest of this done. Now the reason we didn't get it done yesterday, because we had plenty of manpower and time to finish the whole thing, which was our goal, it just got too warm and the epoxy was going to start cooking. And we just can't do that, so we had to stop because the temperature was too high. So we had to move on to today. So today our goal is to finish what we didn't get yesterday, and we've got about 30%. Yesterday we did about 2/3 of it, and today we'll do 1/3. And so hopefully we can get this done with 4 people before it gets too warm again, because it's actually going to be slightly warmer today than it was yesterday. So, but we are getting an earlier start, so it's cooler right now. So we're going to get to it. Brian's already mixing epoxy, so it's an early to drink, but you can have coffee or orange juice or whatever you drink. And we're going to get to working on the rest of these dummy coves into the sole web here.
Unfortunately, I was so busy directing everybody when we brought the web out that I forgot to turn the camera on, but you'll get to see us move it when we're finished with it here and onto the tables.
Okay, so we've brought the whole grid out onto these tables here, and then we set it down here and pull the plastic off. And so what we're getting here, this is the bottom of the dummy cove area, and this is what the floor will be bonding to. So we're going to be sanding all this, which is kind of just grinding it down until it's flat. This is just a start now. So working on all this, and once that is all done, then we're going to flip it over, put that side up and onto these tables right here, because that's when we're going to start working on the putting the bus bars in and the conduits and that kind of stuff. But initially here we just needed to get it out, get it sanded. Now right now we're not trying to sand the whole thing because we're in a bit of a hurry here, because I only have this many people for a certain amount of time, and so we're just doing the middle section because we can reach the sides, standing along the sides, to handle that later. So just going down the middle right now because that's just hard to reach in the center. Coming through, John.
Okay.
I think that's about it. Okay. I'm dusty.
Yes, you are.
I feel like Pigpen.
So
We're going onto this table. This bottom's got to go over on that far side. This is up.
we're lifting the bottom and bringing it. And
We're lifting the bottom and coming over.
This is going to be the top. The surface is top.
Orange crates here, set it down, lean it back.
No, just pick it up and put it on there. It's not that hard.
All right, got to be between the tables.
Ready? Let's go up. With this many people, it's not going to be that hard. Oh, I just got to get in here, out to catch it. All right, so lifting that end.
Coming down heavy on you guys.
We're good. Okay. Shoot, I got nowhere to go.
Definitely got on there.
I know.
Watch your back.
Oh, just going slow.
All right.
How many inches you got? I got 3.
I got about that.
All right. Then we're going to say it's here. Yay! So, I'll introduce my crew while we're here for today. We got John and Terry and Trevor, and you know that guy, Brian, and Todd and Zach. Wave, Zach. And Nick, you know, and Carl. All these guys have been in our videos before this, but the only way we could achieve this beast flipping over like this and stuff, which I have a bunch of people, so they all showed up, which I much appreciate. So as you can see, we got a lot of stuff done and on track with that bridge deck out of here, and now we're going to get to work on it next week. We got all the conduits and bus bars and all kinds of work we got to do out there on it. But this week, to end this, we thought we'd take some viewer questions, and maybe Marianne here can take the first one.
Yes, our first question is from about a month ago, and the question is, who will be le chef, i.e. the cook, when chartering. First of all, we're not going to be chartering. This is for our own pleasure, family and friends, while we go around the world and see everything. Now, who will be le chef? Not it. Just kidding. We are all going to be taking turns with many of the tasks, including the cooking.
Right, everybody will take their stint at cooking, and we'll have a schedule for whose job it is to cook that particular day, and we haven't gotten close to working out what that's going to be like yet. That's so far in the future right now that we're not worried about it, but the Admiral is not the chef, she's the Admiral. So she probably will make up the schedule for who's cooking. So what's our next question?
Our next question is, are you concerned about the temporary table flexing when you come to add the coves?
Well, we're not. And a perfect example of this is we're standing in basically where the galley is going to be, and we're standing on the floor right now. And when you saw the table flex, we hadn't yet put all the supports in that we put in. We put cross supports and bottom supports and all that stuff. And when we stand on this floor, it flexes a couple of millimeters at best. And that's not going to affect anything we're doing, because by the time we get something done on top of here, like glassing or something, by the time we get off, it hasn't set up yet, and then that 2 millimeters comes up and it sets up just fine. So, but we're going to hop down from where the galley is going to be up here and do our next question. Our next question is from 2 weeks ago, and it says, would it have not been better to choose wood as a base material? And what he's asking about is the material that's between the layers of fiberglass. So here's layers of fiberglass on both sides of this, and then in the middle there's a PVC foam in here. And the other option would be to go with wood. Now, if we had decided to go with wood, the kit that we purchased does have a balsa wood option, and so it would be just like this with fiberglass already vacuum bagged on, but in the center would have been balsa between here instead of the PVC foam. And that's a viable option. There's nothing wrong with it. The truth is that to get the same strength, the foam is slightly thicker, but it's also lighter, so by the time you thicken it slightly, the balsa and the foam are about the same weight. And unlike in the past, where the foam was more expensive, it has come down in price, and so the price is about the same. So really, there's no price difference, no strength difference, no weight difference between the two. So why did we decide to go with foam? The main reason we decided to go with foam is that they could cut it in 27 feet by 9 foot panels. And that means we had to seam a lot less seams everywhere to put all this stuff together. And if you live in South Africa or in Australia, they have a machine that you can rent that helps you put the seams in, but we don't, and then there's one in Southern California, so the fewer seams, the easier it was on us. And so for that main reason, we chose the foam because of the size of the panels. But there was a secondary reason. I also prefer the foam from the standpoint of water, because if you get water inside, which you never should, if you treat it properly, you never will. But if you did get water inside, the balsa is going to rot a lot more than with the foam. Now, you could still have delamination on the foam, so it's not a great idea to get water in there. You still want to take care to any hole you drill to seal it so that water can't get to the foam. But it is slightly better from that standpoint to go with the foam. So I hope that answers your question.
Next question is from Zeke, and he's interested in the air conditioners as to what brand they are and if we have a link to them. We bought the air conditioners from overseas. We aren't quite ready to tell anything about those air conditioners yet because we haven't tested them out. So once we test them out and find out that they are working for us and we know a little bit more about their operation, then we can let you know the brand and how to get them.
Our next question is from Christopher, and he wants to know, for the freshwater tank areas, why not just getting those bilge areas glassed and properly sealed rather than inserting tanks into those spaces? Well, the fact is that's exactly what we're already doing. We're not using separate water tanks. We're going to be glassing the water tanks in right here as part of the boat. So this is all going to get further sealed, and then special paint and a top and all the valves, inspection ports, and all that stuff will be inside of this area, which is under the forward bed area, which is up here. So we can open this up and get to those tanks if we ever need to down inside of here.
This viewer is concerned about power lines. Just looking at the power lines in the street, have you checked that this huge boat can actually be transported to the water from where we are?
Yes, we have looked. And if you look up in the sky right here, you can see that there is nothing. And this is where we're going to lift the boat up and onto the flatbed trailer right back there. And then we showed this in another video, but I'll make it brief. But there's a 3-lane highway to the freeway, which is a 5 to 6-lane highway all the way to Newport Beach, and then that's a 4-lane highway to right where we put the boat in. So there's no problem with the route, and there's no problem with power lines. And we've also already contacted the crane company, and they've said that this is going to be nothing for them to do. They move boats much bigger than this all the time. They're sending a 90-ton crane out here to lift this boat, and we don't weigh that much. We weigh about 11 maybe. So no problem at all.
Another viewer asks, is it worth pushing through a conduit through the forebeam before you cap the ends?
Right, and he's talking about over here where the end is, that we could take a conduit up through here and run it all the way through the beam up here. And the only thing we can think that we might need up here is either light, or if someday we wanted to put a powered furler, which we don't intend to, but if we did, and we needed power something here. But the fact is that there's going to be a catwalk coming all the way out to here, and we have access through the top of that with hatches that we can put whatever we want out to the center of this forebeam anytime we want. So we don't really have to worry about putting something through the forebeam.
Another question is, could you just sink coupling nuts in thickened epoxy within your custom ply brackets?
Sure. In fact, down here, the original way that Schoening wanted us to do this was to embed a bolt upside down in epoxy and put a nut on top of it. We chose to go a slightly more complex method simply because if we ever strip out the threads on these, we can now unthread the bolt out and put another one in, where if we ever stripped out the bolt if the nut came loose and the engine vibrated and messed up the threads on the bolt, we would have to cut out that section of epoxy that the bolt was embedded in, and that would be a lot more work. So this was more work to build, but less work later if we ever have a problem. And of course, putting them in welded to steel is slightly stronger than just sitting in hardened epoxy. And this question is, your plan to remove the grid structure and flip it over, has that method been done before? As far as I know, that it has not. That was my own plan so that I could create these dummy coves this method. It saved us close to a month worth of work and was approved by Schoening for that, but they hadn't done that way before. But it also says, seems like at this stage the grid may not be able to support its own weight while being lifted, moved, and flipped. Well, that one was answered when you watched the video just a moment ago, because you saw us pick that thing up and move it and flip it. This thing is so rigid that you can stand on it and it doesn't flex. So no problems whatsoever with that.
One viewer is concerned that we're just going to try and be sailing around the world as fast as we can and not stopping for much.
It has to do with my comment that we'll be doing more sailing. Well, that's just natural in the fact that we're going all the way around the world, and that's a lot of crossing of oceans and other open water passages. So it just involves a lot more sailing than if we spent the same 8 years sailing around, say, the BVIs. So yeah, we're not in a hurry. It's going to take us 8 years to go around the world. We're going to stop and see all the different things we want to see, but it doesn't change the fact that we still will be doing a lot of open water sailing because we're going around the world.
Our last comment is from Sean Walsh, who is so excited for our upcoming party that it would be so cool to walk on the bridge deck, but Sean lives in Canada, so we'd have to beam him up to the bridge deck, Captain. And speaking of our party, we are pushing that out a couple of weeks to September 7th. The main reason being that we weren't able to get all our crew, family, and friends here on the week we originally chose. Some people were not able to attend that date, so we have a date that's better for everybody to get here.
Right, and we could have pushed it off 1 week, but that would have put it at Labor Day, and then more people couldn't make it. So we're pushing it off 2 weeks to get past Labor Day. But that's not the only reason. We also had great hopes to have this bridge deck mounted up so that people who come to the party can walk up inside the boat. And we still want that. The reason we didn't get this up there isn't because we didn't work hard. It's because Brian and I had COVID for one of the weeks that we planned to work on this, so that cost us a week. And we also had some delays in some shipping of reinforcement material that we needed. So we went and worked on the forebeam, if you recall, and that used up another week. So we kind of used up 2 weeks there that were meant to be working on this, and that put us behind. So by moving the party forward those 2 weeks now, we should be able to get this up and get everybody to walk inside. So that should be fun. But for this week, we want to thank all of you for spending your time with the Admiral and myself. We do appreciate you, and we appreciate all of our patrons who help support the building of this boat. And we just can never say enough thank yous to them.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on the bell icon to be notified of our next video.
And we'll see you next week where we're going to work on this, get the conduits in, get the bus bars through, and start working on the sole and getting to the point where we're ready to lift this into the boat. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.